We'll settle on a poll question. Get to your phone calls coming up. Dan Orlovsky next hour. Tony Dungy will drop by as well. Jamison Hensley has been covering the Ravens for the mothership since 2013. And I played a piece of sound after the game, and I thought it was a great question, a telling answer. Let me play for you that question again and what the situation was after losing a tough game, Lamar Jackson's answer or non-answer.
Do you want to see John remain the coach for next year?
You asking me about next year, Jamison. Like, I'm so caught up in what just happened tonight. I can't focus on that right now. I just told you. Like, he asked me, "Are you stunned?" I'm stunned right now. I'm still trying to process what's going on. Like, I know we lost, but what the like, you know? That's all.
The man who asked the question, Jamison Hensley, joining us now. What made you ask the question in that moment?
Just because Lamar Jackson's the face of this franchise, and his opinion carries a lot of weight. And when John Harbaugh is in his 18th season and you have a Super Bowl favorite team not make the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of questions about John Harbaugh's job security. We've been asking John Harbaugh about his job security for 2 weeks, and I just thought it was time for Lamar Jackson to have his chance to weigh in. And I believe if I asked him, hey, do you want Derrick Henry to be your running back? Do you want Zay Flowers to be your wide receiver? He would have said, oh, yes. I definitely want to play with those guys. But for Lamar to basically say, hey, you know what, I'm focusing on the loss. For him to not give John Harbaugh a vote of confidence at that point was pretty telling too.
Yeah, I thought so. I was trying to be fair to him because I don't know that separation of game ends, cooling down period, and then you go to the press conference. But you got to say yes in that moment just to, keep reporters like you off the scent there. But what if the field goal is good?
No, I don't think that changes anything.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I think the news was surprising. I think everyone was bracing for change. I think it was more that everyone was thinking that it was going to be a change at the coordinator level. And I know up until yesterday that John Harbaugh was pretty comfortable that he was going to be proceeding as the head coach of the Ravens. Things changed in that afternoon. I've talked to a lot of people in this building here at the Ravens facility, still have not found a definitive answer. I don't think there will be one definitive answer. I think it's a culmination of things. But we're at a point now where the Ravens are searching for their first head coach since 2008. I mean, Dan, the last time I covered a coaching search, I think I had a flip phone.
Losing the locker room.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is that a real story?
I've been in that locker room for 26 years, and I was there for the past few weeks. I did not get that sense. I will say there were players in that locker room that were not pro John Harbaugh. And I will say after the game, not only did we ask Lamar Jackson, we asked running back Derrick Henry, we asked offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley, do you want to see John Harbaugh return as head coach? And both of those guys said, hey, we love John Harbaugh, but that's not our decision. So it wasn't like this huge support for John Harbaugh. But I think there was, if you look at the last couple of games, at Green Bay, where it was a must-win, at Pittsburgh, where it was a must-win, if John Harbaugh lost the locker room, they would have lost those games by a wide margin. They were still fighting in those. And I think that is a sign that John Harbaugh hadn't lost that locker room. But I will also say that there's a feeling that Harbaugh, after 18 years, he had kind of run his course here. And he had Lamar Jackson for 9 or 8 years, 3 playoff wins. Maybe the perception was maybe it was time to give somebody else a chance because Lamar Jackson's not going to play forever. Maybe it was another chance to give somebody else, see if they can take Lamar Jackson to new heights.
What are the Ravens' plans now?
Yeah, that's my knee-jerk reaction once I heard John Harbaugh was fired. I was like, okay, who is next? Well, you look at this roster. I mean, they have had dozens of Pro Bowl players. They have a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. They got to bring somebody with a big name established. You just can't. But then I also thought back to 2008 when they introduced John Harbaugh as the next head coach. And this is a special teams guy. I mean, he was the second pick to Jason Garrett after Jason Garrett turned it down. And Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti made the point back then that he made a career in his business for selecting guys with thin resumes by hitting on those guys. And how do you separate yourself from the masses? This is from Bisciotti. How do you separate yourself from the masses? Well, you go against the grain. You don't follow the masses. You don't follow the general thinking. So I'm not sure he takes a coach that has been a head coach before. I think he takes great pride in selecting John Harbaugh and having him have a Hall of Fame type career here in Baltimore. So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for a younger coach, maybe doesn't have a head coaching experience, because that has been his history.
Well, there's Clint Kubiak, there's Chris Shula. Like there's younger guys that have thinner.
And Jesse Minter as well.
Yes.
Jesse Minter's a good one too.
With the Chargers. So I don't know if they're going offense or defense. Could you see them leaning one way or another of what type of coach they're bringing in?
I think they're looking for a coach. It doesn't matter if it's offense or defense. I think they're looking for somebody to reinvigorate this franchise. And I think it kind of grown a little stale around here. And so I think they need somebody to really kind of energize not only that locker room, but Lamar Jackson as well. And I think that is when whoever takes over for the Ravens, that is going to be the key. How do they connect with Lamar Jackson? Because not only is he the face of this franchise, he is the leader. And as this team goes, as Lamar goes, this team goes. So I think that is going to be the priority. It's not more of offense, defense, but how do they connect with Lamar Jackson?
Where does John Harbaugh end up?
That is also a very good question. And as much as I think the Ravens now become the number one destination for any available coach, John Harbaugh is the number one candidate out there for a guy who changed the culture here with the Ravens, who turned this team from a good playoff team under Billick, but they had kind of gone off the tracks a little bit. He turned them into a perennial Super Bowl contender. And I mean, you look at his resume as being, and he's adapted over the years. He'll acknowledge that he is a player's coach. I've talked to players; they say he is his best when it's tough times. So I think he would relish the chance to go to a New York Giants team that has a lot of good players, a great roster. But I also think there could be some teams out there that have head coaches. Yeah. Maybe Miami Dolphins, where he could go there as well. I think John Harbaugh being available changes everything. It changes even teams that have head coaches. It just changes the coaching search immediately.
The thing that really kind of surprised me with Lamar's non-answer when you asked the question was nobody has had his back more than John Harbaugh did.
Without doubt.
Without doubt. But it felt like there was a disconnect at some point.
And I will say, Dan, I mean, like you said, no one has had the back of Lamar even more than John Harbaugh. I mean, you go back to that 2019 playoff game. 2018 playoff game, Lamar's first playoff game, and he's struggling. And Joe Flacco's on the sideline, and there's fans chanting Flacco, put this guy back in there, your Super Bowl quarterback, and he didn't. He stayed with Lamar. And I think that was a big turning point, not only for this franchise, but also the relationship of Lamar and Harbaugh. And I think they had a good relationship. I think for John, he was kind of the middle guy between where there was some friction between Lamar Jackson and some of the coaching staff as well. And I think he was the middle guy, and I think he tried to hold it together as well as he could. But at a certain point, as someone told me, there's a certain shelf life when you're coaching Lamar Jackson, and this coaching staff reached the end of it.
If the Steelers had lost, finish that sentence with Mike Tomlin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a very interesting question because, I mean, you got the two most tenured coaches in the NFL. And John Harbaugh was even asked about that. Kind of, Mike Tomlin and him, will this game be a referendum on your kind of both of your coaching job, your job securities for both coaches? And
I thought Tomlin was on the hot seat, Jamison.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, Harbaugh gave a great quote. He quoted Billie Jean King, the tennis Hall of Famer, saying, "You know what? Pressure is a privilege, and it's a privilege to be on the hot seat because it means, you know what, you're doing something that you love." And so I will say this about John Harbaugh, that for a guy that has been around for almost 2 decades and was kind of being asked some tough questions about his job over the last 2 weeks, he handled it very, very well. And someone told me yesterday, after the news had kind of broken, that John Harbaugh is at peace with this decision, and he kind of feels that it's good to be a reset for not only for the franchise but for him as well.
Great stuff. I know you're busy. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you so much, Dan. Really appreciate it.
All right. Jamison Hensley, ESPN Ravens reporter since 2013. Been in the building for over a couple of decades there. You get a feel when you're around a team on a daily basis. It's amazing. And you talk to beat reporters, and they know. Because, body language, what you hear, how you hear it, the enthusiasm, lack thereof, there's something that's there that sometimes nothing needs to be said, but you get a sense. And maybe there was a malaise that was kind of hanging over this franchise there. And you can sense that sometimes. You get excited. Like I worry about that. I've worried about that with this show, where we've been together for a couple of decades. And you want to make sure every day. That's why I always say, and you guys joke, every day's a Super Bowl. Like I want to reinvigorate. I always want to make sure that we approach that next day the same way as we did the day before. There's no off days. Every interview is important. That's on your mind if you're leading people, you're coaching people, managing people, and sometimes you forget about it.